welcome to A Problem Squared, the podcast equivalent of a hospital. Except instead of trying to treat your medical ailments, we will just try to solve your trivial and often hypothetical problems. Although in the Venn diagram of A Problem Squared and hospitals, there is a very small intersection where you will come to us with your trivial medical problems.
I'm pretty sure we get some trivial medical problems.
That's what I'm saying. It's in the intersection.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. You're practicing physicians today. Emphasis on practicing. Matt Parker, DM, does maths.
Hey.
And me, Bec Hill, MD, massive dork.
I could be maths doer.
That's not me, though.
No, massive dork.
Yeah.
Well.
That's it. That's the intro.
Good.
Deal with it, guys.
Love it.
On this episode,
I will be clearing up some misunderstandings around squared magic squares.
Ooh, squared magic squares.
Yeah.
I'll be source checking some interesting government information from Australia.
Sounds saucy.
Mm.
And if you like business that comes at the end of a meeting, my goodness, have we got some any others?
Wowee. This is why we shouldn't talk too much before a show. I mean, normally it's like, hey, what have you been doing for the last month? But I saw you twice last week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time.
We did. I think because it was 2 consecutive days, I've kind of mentally categorized that as one big outing.
Visit.
Yeah. But before that, I went to Japan.
Oh my gosh, you did.
And we haven't even done a recording since I was in Japan.
And do you know what? We didn't talk about that because we were like, let's talk about it on the podcast.
In the podcast. Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
Went
this is
Japan.
great. Here's some stuff that I haven't actually heard yet.
There you go. Now you look genuinely pleased all of a sudden.
So
to be chill, like,
pleased.
thank goodness, something new.
I relaxed instantly.
Although you kind of know what I'm going to talk about because I did tweet about it slightly when I was in Japan.
Oh yeah.
We were in Japan for just over a week because Lucy was at a solar physics workshop in Nagoya. And that was it was like a Monday to Friday deal. So we did the flanking weekends in Tokyo.
Nice.
So we get there. We have like one day in Tokyo. I run around. I make a video. We meet up with some colleagues of Lucy / friends of ours. And then we're down in Nagoya for the week. And then we're back up to Tokyo for the final weekend.
Yes.
And we did the journeys on the bullet train.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Which is a huge amount of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't been in Japan for a while. And there's been a noticeable change before and after the Olympics. There's more English signage than I remember from before.
Ah.
So navigating the public transport system, I found way easier this time. I don't know, maybe Google Maps is better as well.
Mm.
But actually the whole experience of traveling around Japan was easier this time. I think Google Translate's also really good now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a huge amount of fun. And the bullet train incredibly fast and super punctual.
Mm.
Except on our way back,
Ooh.
it was delayed immensely. So
yes,
there was a typhoon that came through and it just bucketed like monsoon amounts of rain.
Mm.
And apparently like when it was raining, because we were staying on the university campus and Lucy will be off during the day at the workshop in like, I don't know, physics building or whatever. And I'm in like the student accommodation.
Yeah.
Doing writing work.
Yeah.
So I just like there's like a desk there. I pushed up against a window so I could look out, see a bit of greenery, see a bit of the university, get some work done. I'm looking out on like a lower bit of the building with a big flat roof.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the rain came down, it was just gradually filling up with water, like just an incredible quantity of water. And I'm like, wow, but I guess it's designed for this. And then afterwards, everyone's like, no, this was like above average, like an abnormal amount of water.
Right. It was not designed for this.
No. Which we discovered the next morning when we went to get the bullet train back to Tokyo, and they weren't running. Or rather, there was a massive queue.
Yeah, I think I did see some photos.
Yes.
And it reminded me of when there's massive queues for the Eurostar.
It felt like we got there right when the trains had just started running again. They had been down for like the 24 hours previous. So loads of people were showing up because you kind of get these unreserved tickets.
Yeah.
And there were so many people showing up all at once when the trains just started running again. And you could tell the station staff were kind of scrabbling to organize the queue.
Which is surprising because when you think of organization.
Yeah. You think they'd have it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to divide and conquer. Lucy got what we thought was the queue. So I went and got the ticket. Lucy got in the queue. And then for the first like half an hour, the queue moved pretty fast. But the queue we got in was like outside the station down the street, and it just zigzagged backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. And it moved super fast for half an hour and then completely stationary for an hour.
Right.
And I think that was them like adjusting the queue downstream.
Mhm.
I think they were, first of all, we move really fast because they were adding in lots of zigzags elsewhere in the queue
Right.
to get some more capacity. And then we didn't move at all because I think they were clearing out a bunch of people who'd already clogged up the station
Mhm.
and impromptu badly queued in the station.
Yeah.
And then after like, an hour of then no movement at all, we then carried on. And it was just over 4 hours all
Oof.
in to get to the front.
Yeah.
As I was in the queue, I was like, this is a bit annoying because this never happens with the bullet trains.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a chaotic queue. It's not like a established queue, you're going to do, right? So
Yeah.
But then I thought, you know what? Given how rare this is, and given how much people love public transport infrastructure, there's a non-zero number of people who'd be quite envious that I got to go have a 4-hour bullet train queuing experience in Nagoya train station. So I looked at the opposite. I'm like, this is amazing. So few people ever have the opportunity to queue for a bullet train.
Yeah, that's true.
Particularly out of the station. Come on.
How long was the actual journey for?
Under 2 hours.
Yeah. So you queued for longer than
Yeah.
you were on the train.
Actually, the surreal thing was the queue was just to kind of get through the ticket gates.
Mm-hmm.
And once you're through, it's just another free-for-all to work out the platform and then the sub queues for the different carriages. So we then still had to do all that afterwards. But in the end, it worked.
Yep.
I did loads of other cool, fun stuff, but none of it as exciting as the queuing story.
Wow.
Yeah. I know what the people want. And what about you, Bec? What have you been up to? Anything as exciting as a 4-hour queue?
I mean, you were with me. We drank 4 jugs of margaritas with Bobby Fingers.
Good times.
Of the YouTubes.
Jalapeno margaritas.
Jalapeno margaritas, which is very nice. Bobby had to film some extra behind the scenes stuff with his Patreon supporters.
If people aren't familiar with the Mr. Bobby Fingers, they have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, we did. We've mentioned on a previous episode, they make dioramas is not family friendly.
No.
Yeah.
I talked about the Michael Jackson stuff I did for
Yes.
Bobby on a previous episode, but we wish to reiterate it's an adults craft channel.
Yeah, but it is like incredible. It is ridiculously talented.
Yes.
It's disgusting. But he was in town and he was also seeing Penn and Teller, who happened to
The
be his
magicians.
Patreon
Yeah.
supporters. We happened to be seeing the same show as him by pure chance.
Yeah.
And so when we found this out, when I said to him, I'm going to see Penn and Teller with Matt and Lucy on the 17th. And he was like, that's when I'm going. And I was like, oh.
Amazing.
And then instantly in my head, I was like, well, now we have to meet Penn and Teller because if he's going as their guest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And we did. We got to meet them very briefly,
Yep. They're lovely
Backstage.
people.
which is very cool. I did get to meet Penn's kid, who's an adult, so it feels weird. But Moxie,
Offspring. Yeah.
their offspring, Moxie's doing a double bill magic show in Edinburgh
It's very
called
exciting.
Young and Moxie, I think it's called. So I'm going to go see that because I'm going to go
Yeah, you're
to
up there.
Fringe this year. Yeah. No, I'm not going to do a show. I'm just going for funzos. Gonna DJ?
Be a punter. Of course you're going to DJ.
Yep, it's actually happening. So before we do our next recording, I have to dig back through and find out what the DJ name
Did
was.
we lock
that
in a
landed
DJ
on.
name for you? I
We
feel
had
like
something,
did.
yeah. And then, yes, that was good. That's pretty much, that's
Great
my
story.
catch-up chat. We had a fun
Yeah.
time.
We had a fun time. And then we went out for more margaritas.
Oh, and yeah, we had
After
more
Penn and Teller,
margaritas
yeah,
after
yeah.
Penn and Teller.
That was a theme for our...
It's a margarita summer.
Yeah.
We'll be in New York soon. Margs are all around.
If you can recommend good margaritas in New York, let us know.
This first problem is for you, Matt. It's from A Flock of Smeagolls, which is maybe
Great
my
name.
favorite
Great
name.
name.
Yeah, on the problem posing page at problemsquared.com. And it says, I misread the title of the most recent number file video. Number file being the channel that you sometimes appear on.
YouTube channel about numbers.
So on the most recent number file video, magic squares of squares are probably impossible, but they misread it as magic squares of magic squares are probably impossible.
Yeah.
So it begs the question, is it possible to make a magic square of magic squares where each cell of a magic square is the magic constant of another magic square? I have no idea what this question means.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot here.
That last part was me, not a
No,
flock of Smeagolls.
no. A flock of Smeagolls is all over it.
Yeah. So first of all, what is a magic square?
Okay, we'll go from the beginning up.
Yeah.
So a magic square.
Is Penn and Teller involved?
It's very similar.
Is it like the magic circle? But
It's exactly like the magic circle.
Yeah, cool.
But with more corners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, are you allowed to tell us about magic
I'm not allowed to
squares?
talk about. I can't reveal any of the secrets of the magic.
You're not allowed in
squares.
the magic square anymore.
Exactly. You have to go to the magic triangle.
Yeah, right.
And then you get demoted to the magic circle. As you work your way up the ranks, you get more corners.
Okay.
That's how it is.
And so the magic dodecahedron.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the top. So a magic square is a grid of numbers, like a very small spreadsheet. I imagine that's a good reference point for everyone here.
Yeah.
Where if you add up all the numbers in each of the rows, you always get the same total.
Is that how Sudoku works?
Sudoku does do that as well, but in a Sudoku, it's because every row has all the digits 1 through 9, and every column has 1 through 9. So because every row and every column has the same digits in it, just in different orders,
right? But this
you get
is
the same total.
If if it could be any digit, it still works.
Yeah,
it's not just one. Got it.
And the kind of there are different standards in your magic squares. Because if I wanted to make a really boring magic square, so I'll write one out, but I'm going to describe it at the same time. I'm just doing a grid of the number 1 over and over again. Right.
Now,
so what I've got,
am I right in thinking this has something to do with your Parker square?
It does something to do with my Parker square.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah. So I've just done a 3x3 grid of ones, which adds to 3 in every direction.
Yep.
So technically, magic square.
Okay.
It's just really boring. And I could put 1, 2, and 3 in every single row and column. And it would still work, but it's still boring.
Yeah.
And so the ones that people really like don't have any repeated digits in them. So they're all unique entries in the grid. And we've known about these for thousands of years. Like this is maybe one of the oldest known bits of recreational mathematics. People love these magic squares, and they've popped up independently around the world.
Cool.
In different cultures all over the shop. And after a while, you can find a bunch that work, and you start thinking, well, if only we could add more conditions to these things to make them even more interesting. So actually, I've got one that I found, and I very quickly scribbled this out before we started recording. I'm going to pass it over to you.
Okay.
To you there.
Matt's holding me a square piece of paper. Do you want me to read it out?
Yeah, just pick a row, pick a column.
Okay. So the top row reads 5, 22, 18.
Okay. And so if you add those together, they add to, what's that?
45.
Yep. And if you add up a column, pick a column.
So if I go down, it's 5, 28, and 12.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Still works. And in fact, every row, every column, and the diagonals all add to the same amount. However, the one thing that's different about this one, normally I would write
you've spelled it out in words.
Yeah, they're all written
in
out.
Letters.
Because if you count the number of letters in any of the rows or columns
the
or
letters
diagonals,
add up too?
There's always the same number of letters.
No.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
How does anyone figure that out?
So all the numbers are different. They're all different numbers.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
And they're all
you can see the numbers mentioned more than once because they're part of the other, like 22. There's also
that's true. There's also a 2. Yeah, good point. But also, they're all different lengths. So there's not even a repeated length. So there's kind of 2 magic squares in one. There's one magic square, which is the actual values of the numbers.
Whoa.
And there's another magic square, which is the lengths of the numbers when they're written out in English.
That's amazing.
And the lengths are also still 9 unique lengths. And so I found that one. I'm very proud of that.
That's very cool.
I was very excited. I wrote some software. I wrote some terrible Python code, as is my want.
Yes.
And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if a magic square had this property where if you write it out, it's the same number of letters in every single direction. So I wrote some code. I searched through all the magic squares up to 2-digit numbers. So they're all 2-digit or fewer numbers. There's no 0. And then I looked for that property and I found 7. There are 7 magic squares, ignoring the fact that I could have obviously rotated that or reflected it and it's still the same.
Just use the same ones.
Exactly, yeah. So there's 7 distinct magic squares that have that property, but 6 of them have duplicate lengths.
Right, yeah.
So the numbers are all different because I only searched for ones with different numbers, but they would have the same length for more than one number when they're written out. And only one of them, the one you're holding there, has unique lengths.
Wow.
And so I found that. I was so excited. I had a look online. I couldn't see it anywhere. I went and gave a talk about it at the 2016 Mass Jam conference. And then afterwards, someone pointed out someone else had already found that.
Oh,
in the mid 1980s.
that was quite a long time before you did.
Yes, quite a while before me.
So you didn't just Google it first.
I did Google it. I don't know how I didn't find it. Yeah, it was already out there this whole time.
Wow.
Yeah. But I maintain finding something, like I had as
Now
much
you
fun
know it
finding
definitely is right.
Yeah.
Because
Also,
someone
yes,
else had
someone else has
already
done
done
it,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. And
And-
you've confirmed that for them.
And when they found it, people were very excited about it. People were saying it's the most amazing magic square. And I still found the same thing.
Mm.
It just so happened someone else found it before me.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, in some senses, that's a bit disappointing, but I don't think it in any way devalues the journey of finding
I
the
think
thing.
we should buy a lottery ticket with these numbers.
There you go. Exactly. They can be the lucky numbers.
Yeah.
And so what I'm kind of circling around here is you can write some software to find magic squares, which is going to answer the problem that the person sent in.
Oh, right.
And so I actually wrote some software to generate magic squares.
Wait, let's have a now.
Yep.
Now let's go back to their problem.
Oh, let's see how
Because
many
you've
words
explained
you've
what
now
magic
got.
squares
Yeah.
are.
Okay. Yep. Go
So
ahead.
you did a video about magic squares of squares,
Yes.
meaning like squared numbers.
Yes. So instead of having some ridiculous extra rule like the number of letters have to also be the same in every direction, you could add other sorts of properties. You could try and find a magic square where all the numbers are prime. You could try and find a magic square with that's 4 by 4 or 5 by 5, different sizes.
Yeah.
Or you could try and find a magic square where all the numbers in the magic square are themselves square numbers. And so I'm going to pass you over another magic square that I wrote out. There we go. And so that's a magic square that I found where all the numbers are square numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got 29 squared.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm not going to do the maths.
No, don't. No. It's not worth it.
You've got 29 squared, 1 squared, and 47
I can get you right to the
squared
punchline.
going across.
First of all, you notice there's repeated.
Yes, there are 2 41 squared and
There you
there
go.
are
Yep.
2 29
Yeah.
squares. And 2 1 squared.
One of the diagonals doesn't add to the same amount.
Right.
And so this is the infamous Parker square.
I did. Do you know I was fighting
yeah,
very
there's one up
hard?
there.
There's one on your wall, and I was
Yes.
fighting very hard not to look at it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's the same one. In fact, it's probably the same orientation. I think it's the canonical arrangement. It is. Yep. So this is the Parker square.
Mm-hmm.
And this was me. I looked up online and found that no one had ever found a magic square where all the numbers are themselves square numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I'd give it a go. And I knew people had already tried up to huge numbers.
Yeah.
So I knew I wasn't going to find one, but I thought it was to be a fun video to make on Number File to talk about the fact this something that's so easy to describe doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But I thought there's no point doing the video if I haven't tried myself. So as part of the video, I thought I'd see how close I could get. And that's as close as I could get.
Yeah. And then it got dubbed the Parker Square. And that is basically now a metaphor for trying something and still failing.
Correct.
You know,
no, it's the metaphor for giving it a go.
The friends we made along the way. That kind of thing.
The real magic was the friends that we squared along the way.
Yeah.
So that became a whole thing. Brady released T-shirts and all that jazz. It's all very funny. And the reason that this person, actually the video they were watching was someone, like mathematicians have now done legitimate research into trying to find a magic square of square numbers. So there's already ample pictures of the Parker square online, but we'll add to it. I should sign that. Like that's a Matt Parker handcrafted Parker square. There.
You should give that away as a prize.
I should. The first wizard to find me in real life.
Now you have to carry it with you
not that
everywhere.
Again. I did that last time.
I think we should just send it. We should just send it to a random Patreon supporter.
Deal. We'll
just do that.
You've got until the end of July. At the end of this month, I will pick, from the 1st of August, I'll pick a Patreon at random. And I'll even write the person's name on it, so it's like personalized.
Do you know what? Underneath it,
yep,
it's a big piece of paper, so people can cut it off. I'll do one.
You do a square as well. Yeah.
The spirit of the hill square is to definitely get it wrong.
Right.
And that way you cannot fail.
Yeah. Sign up on Patreon by the end of July, and I'll pick someone at random, and you'll get it.
Yeah.
So anyway, what both these things have in common is I had some code that makes magic squares. And in both these situations, the Parker square and the what's called a alpha magic square or something, I called it a letter-wise magic square, but it turns out I'm not allowed to name it because someone else already had.
Right.
In both these cases, I was just repurposing some old software I'd written to find magic squares. And I originally wrote that software for the 2015 Festival of the Spoken Nerd show, Just for Graphs.
Oh, yes.
And in that show, which, I mean, you won't have seen for almost a decade now, I think you came and saw it in Edinburgh.
I
Have
think
you
I did,
seen
yeah.
that? During the show, I wanted to do a thing about magic squares. I wanted to do something new. And this is before the Parker Square, before any of this ridiculousness. And so I did a 10 by 10 magic square. So a 100 number magic square for a member of the audience. All the rows and columns in this 10 by 10 magic square all summed to the number they gave me,
Nice.
which was a ridiculous undertaking,
Mm-hmm.
but I thought it'd be very funny to do it. And what you do is you memorize a standard magic square, and then you just adjust values to change all the totals. But you memorize which ones you've got to adjust and by how much to hit different targets.
I mean, this sounds. What you've just said to me is like, I'm a genius.
It's just
All you have to do is remember their entire credit card number and PIN number and
I'm saying it's you don't have to be clever. You just got to throw a bunch of time at memorizing and practicing some stuff.
Yeah,
which is all of magic.
But I find
honest.
that far more impressive than cleverness.
Oh, there you go. Excellent. So I did that, but then my unique twist on it was later on in the show, I get them to cover up all the numbers in the magic square below a threshold, and it makes a picture of a smiley face.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I hid a picture in the magic square
that
doesn't
cool.
get broken when I change the totals.
That's very cool.
It changes the threshold, but it still works. Because I want to do something new that someone hadn't done. Because people have done magic squares on stage a lot. In nerdy magic circles.
Mm-hmm.
And so what it means is maybe I could use my code that I originally wrote for that. And I've applied it to the Parker Square. I've applied it to the letter one. I could apply it to this suggestion from a flock of Smiggles to make a magic square, which is itself made up of magic squares.
Right. So then that's like, so if you've got, wait, are magic squares, no, you said they're not always 9 cells. They're just.
They can be any grid.
Okay. Yeah. So that's basically just a bigger grid.
It would be a grid. Well, yes, you've got it in one.
Yeah.
So the concept is you'd have a grid, like a 3x3 grid, and in each cell, instead of putting a number, you'd put another magic square. But that's just another grid. And so you're just ending up with an even bigger grid.
Yeah.
And so I can say, yes, you can do that. And yes, people have already done it. And so I quickly went online earlier, and I've got a person who emails me magic squares on the regular.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and flicked through their website. We'll link to it from the show notes, also all our social medias. And I printed one out for you. So I'm just going to go grab it.
Ooh.
Okay, so I'm handing over a magic square to Bec. The whole thing is one big magic square.
Whoa. This hurts my eyes.
So at one level, it's a 7x7 magic square.
Mm-hmm.
But each entry on the magic square is itself a 6x6 magic square.
Okay.
And each of those sub-magic squares has the additional property that if you add the central 4x4 numbers, you get the same total as the perimeter border numbers around the outside of the each sub-magic square.
Oh my goodness.
So this is a magic square of magic squares.
I don't like it.
It is terrifying. It's very unsettling, isn't it?
Also, it looks like one of those, those
like a magic eye thing.
Yeah, those optical illusion things where they're like, look at this grid of squares, and then it's like, oh, you can see a smaller squares or circles in between.
Oh
the squares.
yeah, and it's always
it does that effect.
Oh, it does do that effect.
Yeah.
Because it's got like a light and dark grid. You look at one bit and all the other ones look like they're shaded in. And you look at those and they're not shaded in, but the other ones look like they're shaded in.
Yeah.
I find some keyboards do that to me.
Oh.
Like the blanks. Like if the mortar of the keyboard is light colored, I get that effect when I look at it. Yeah. Old Max used to do it.
I genuinely can't have that in my
I will
eyeline.
take it back now.
It keeps like attracting my eyes and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hurts.
So to answer the problem, people do make magic squares of magic squares. And actually, the magic square I did in that show nearly a decade ago was a magic square of magic squares. Because the way I made it was I didn't actually make a 10x10 magic square. I made 4 5x5 magic squares.
Ah.
And if you stack magic squares, you still get the same totals in all the different directions. In terms of columns and rows, because you're still adding the 2 different totals that are always the same to each other, so you still get the same grand total for each row and each column.
Right.
So
I'm making sounds as if I'm
yeah.
I'm not I'm understanding that this makes sense, I'm not 100% following, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, if you want to make a big magic square, you can cheat and make a bunch of smaller magic squares and just stack them together.
Yeah.
Because if you've got a row from one magic square and a row from the other magic square, all the different rows in the squares will always add to the same thing. And so you're still always adding the same thing to the same thing. So the joint row is always giving you the same total. And likewise with the columns.
Okay, do you know what? I understand now. For some reason in my brain, I was like, no, but I was thinking as if you need to add up all the numbers that are in the square.
No, just the rows. Yeah. Yes.
But if you did need to do that, if you had to add up all the numbers that are in the square.
You'd still get the same total.
And then stack those.
That would still work.
Would it still work?
Yeah. So, or the sum total of all the numbers in a magic square.
Yeah.
For the same magic, will be the same. Yeah. Because you're basically just doing all the rows at once or something like that.
Cool.
Anyway, the point is, magic squares don't have to be made up of smaller magic squares, but you can always take smaller ones and put them together to make a bigger one. It's a cheating way of doing it. And so my software, it would have been too slow to search for a 10 by 10 one that did what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I split it into 4 smaller problems.
Yeah.
Which were each way easier than a quarter of the whole problem because it's a combinatorics issue. And so I just knew which part of the smiley face had to be where in each of the 5x5s.
Yeah.
And I could generate them all individually and put them together.
That's very cool.
Yeah. And because they were all different in terms of like the values, you couldn't really tell once they were all together. It was seamless, despite having literal seams. So to answer that problem, 100%. In fact, that's where the Parker Square started, was from making a magic square of magic squares. And so it's very funny that that's what they misread from the title, because that's what I was doing in the first place before I ever got to square numbers.
But if they did misread that, then it's wrong. Because they misread it as the original title is Magic Squares of Squares are probably impossible. They misread it as Magic Squares of Magic Squares are probably impossible. But actually, very possible.
Completely very possible. In fact, often the easiest way to get a bigger magic square.
Yeah. Yeah. Magic Squares of Magic Squares are probably
very convenient.
Would you say they're equally possible as the other one is impossible?
No, I wouldn't. But I'm glad you checked.
That's because you're not willing to accept that it might be impossible.
I would be happy if it was proven impossible.
I'm gonna do it today.
You do it.
Yeah.
Or you can do one. You find a counter example. Sign up to Patreon.
I'm gonna give you a ding for that.
Thank you.
Because not only did you answer that question, but you've explained it to me. I'm pretty sure you've had to explain it to me in the past before, but
Probably.
I look forward to you explaining it to me again in a few years.
We'll regroup in a couple of years.
Yeah.
A few more margaritas down the road.
Yeah, when they're giving me the medal.
Yeah, exactly, for cracking it.
For the Hill Square.
For anyone wondering why what I did was so important, my assistant Matt here will explain.
Yes, yeah. You have to wear a sparkly dress. Because it's magic.
This again. Our next problem was sent in on the problem posing page by someone who goes by Fab and not FAB, like an acronym, capital F, lowercase AB. And Fab says, I have seen this Australian government fire hose specifications document. Looks pretty old. And that's true. They've attached a link to it and it looks like someone scanned in or taken a photo of like a document made on a typewriter. It's got that kind of old-timey feel, all text. And Fab proceeds to say they cannot find out if it's fake or not. Oh, interesting. It does have some interesting specifications, though, and they're not sure if they're even physically possible or if they violate, I guess, the laws of physics.
Yeah, they give an example, but I actually think it's good to read out the whole document.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think you've got the document there.
Yeah, I do. Australian Government Fire Hose Specifications. That's the title in the document.
Mm-hmm.
All hose is to be made of a long hole surrounded by canvas, rubber or plastic around the hole. Okay.
I mean, they're not wrong.
Yeah, they're not wrong. What is a hose if not a long hole? I mean,
it does start to get into the argument about, is it
one hole? Yeah. Well, they've answered it. A straw is, what is a straw if not a long hole? One long hole. I'll let everyone know. All hose is to be hollow throughout the entire length. Do not use holes of different length than the hose. This is clearly not. I mean, it's real in that it's a thing.
Yeah.
But it's terrible hose advice. The inside diameter of all hose must not exceed the outside diameter. Otherwise, the hole will be on the outside. And that's just good advice in general.
Yeah.
The inside diameter has to be smaller than the outside diameter. I'm going to name that the hose inequality.
I like that.
All hose is to be supplied with nothing in the hole so that water can be put inside at a later date. All hose over 500 foot, which is 153 meters in length, should have the words...
And you should say it specifies that.
It does both. Yeah, that wasn't me converting on the fly.
No.
That's in the document. Shall have the words long hose clearly stenciled on each end so the firefighter will know it is a long hose. Hose over 2 miles, 3.2K, must also have the words long hose stenciled in the middle so the firefighter will not have to walk the entire length of the hose to determine whether or not it is a long hose or a short hose.
Yeah.
All hose over 6 inches, that's 125 mil, in diameter, must have the words large hose stenciled on it so the firefighter will not mistake it for a small hose. It's different to long hose, for the record.
Yes.
People who aren't, when it's written, it's easier to see that's different to long. Finally, this is the last clause. Be sure to specify to the CFA whether you want level, uphill, or downhill hose. If you use downhill hose for going uphill, the water will flow the wrong way.
Yeah.
I feel like they were padding out the list at that point. I feel like they peaked at the inside diameter must not exceed the outside diameter.
It's a great
Otherwise,
one, yeah.
the hole will be on the outside.
Yeah.
So, Bec, is this real?
I mean, yeah, we'll get to the point. No,
Yeah, no.
It's not. No. I love the fact that, I think, first of all, the fact that it's like Australian government fire hose, people are like, it does sound like Aussies have a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
It sounds like something they might sneak in there.
Yep.
Either that or they were dumb.
Let's go with option A.
I think there's also something about when you see a document that is from a time when sort of creating a document was a lot harder.
Yes.
You needed access to not just
There was a barrier
a
to entry.
typewriter, but you also needed the ink, the paper. So you need that. And I chatted to my dad about this, and he was like, it could have even been rodioed, which like the rodeo machine, which was like a copy machine.
Oh, yeah.
Like originally typed and then copied.
Duplicated.
And again, anytime you see something that's duplicated that is, as you say, ease of access to those sorts of materials, you never assume that someone's going to use it for comedy. Because you're like, this is a limited resource.
Find out this is a scarce resource.
Yeah.
And someone's just used it for larking around.
Yeah. But also, I had access. My mum was a librarian. My mum is still a librarian. When I was growing up, I had access to a lot of like a binding, not proper book binding, but like she worked at TAFE, which is a bit like college library. So students would get their essays bound, in the little plastic rings. Yeah. So I had access to those things. So I happily would make my own little books and things and stuff. They weren't official.
Oh, I remember when I had to buy a laminator for some reason. Suddenly I was doing all sorts of joke stuff and getting it laminated because now it looks legit. You're like, it's laminated.
So to me, what this says is, first of all, someone who had access to something that was being used for legitimate things. Use it. And I love that. I think and obviously this is Dinglet, so I don't have time, but I bet there's a ton of stuff throughout history where someone has had access to something and
to an otherwise difficult to achieve resource or
Now, I will say, looking at the document, first of all, you said it scanned all photo, and I think it is the latter because looking at it, it appears to be at a slight angle.
Bit wonky,
Yeah, the aspect ratio was a little bit off. And so that suggests to me that this was a photo that someone took of it. It's not even been scanned, which would have been maybe a decade or two ago. It means it was taken and it's a good quality photo and put online. It could have been done on a digital camera earlier, but I reckon just in terms of ease, it's been done with a mobile phone. So this is something that is older but has been uploaded online recently.
Yes.
So I wanted to try and find out where it was from. The first thing I did was a reverse image search, but it's very hard with those sorts of documents because
you could just get typewritten things
exactly
look the same.
And that's mostly what I got. So I did a ton of reverse style searches, different word terms and everything. The earliest one I could find was one that was posted in 2020.
Oh, wow. That is recent.
Yeah. And it was posted on the Central Victorian Fire Service Preservation Society Facebook page. So I chatted to my dad because my dad is a member of the CFS, which is the Country Fire Service in South Australia. So we both looked at the top of the page as a good clue. There's number 4.
There's a 4.
Yeah, with dots on the inside. So I was like, obviously this was in something. This is 4th page of something. And Dad said that there was quite a lot of time they would have little newsletters. Newsletters that would go out amongst either the CFA or the CFS. He was like, it could be that this was originally by the CFA. It could also be that someone else had done one at one point and then someone else copied it and then changed it.
I will say that the mention at the bottom of the CFA with no explanation means that this is not something made like in the UK or the US, where they're just using Australia as a placeholder for generic foreign thing.
Yeah.
It's legitimately must have been in Australia, which is nice.
Yes. Yeah. There are a few clues there as to when it was probably written. Obviously, the typewriter thing dates it. Also, the mention of the metric conversion.
Oh, yeah.
Australia switched to metrics in 1974.
That was 74.
So it's likely that this was sometime after that.
Yep.
Because they're still needing to clarify.
They're clarifying the metric, yep.
And my dad's theory is that it sounds like it was a bit of a snarky response to what was probably a bunch of new government regulations that came about.
Oh, yes. Good insight.
Especially with with state fire services, because they're like, well, we know what we're doing. And so they're kind of general vibe of like the government's just, they don't actually know what the what's
we're
going
on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Says, even though a lot of the time it's expert led, so that a lot of the time the regulations are very good.
Yeah.
But it was probably a bit of a response to that. He wonders if perhaps there might have been a change of some more stern government regulations that probably came out just after Ash Wednesday, which was the Ash Wednesday fires in Adelaide, South Australia. Huge fires, 1980.
Oh, okay. So
like
it could be
50 plus homes were destroyed and stuff. It was really, really full on. So it's very possible that in response to that, the government went, okay, we need
to
send out some.
Professionalize this a bit. Yep.
And then probably someone did that. Now, I did actually hear back as well. I contacted Central Victorian Fire Service Preservation Society. So they didn't upload the photo themselves specifically.
Right.
They had also come across the photo from another friend who's no longer on Facebook, and they don't know where they sourced it from. So they can't specifically. They did say, however, judging by the type settings and the style and color of the print, I'd guess that it is indeed sort of 70s era. It might have been published in The Fireman at the time. So The Fireman used to have a page. So I'm guessing it's a newsletter.
Yep.
For firefighters.
Jokes and larking around for firefighters.
So his newsletter, it used to be informative, but it used to have a page, usually either the second or third last.
Yep.
If it's a small newsletter, that could have been the fourth page.
One. Yep.
Where the editor could place a joke or two or a
There
funny
you go.
photo. Yeah. So that was from Tim from Central Victorian Fire Service Preservation
Thank
Society.
you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. So yeah, I know I didn't need to deep dive that much.
That's the correct amount of dive.
I really enjoyed it though.
That's great.
I loved trying to look for all the clues and everything.
I feel like the answer is yes, it is a thing. And you've tracked its heritage.
That's true. It is real.
It's real.
That's what I say. This is real. It's not government regulation.
No, but it's a real thing made for
something
firefighters.
that someone made
Yeah.
as a fun in joke. And at some point, probably recently, I would say at the beginning of lockdown, because this was around July 2020, someone was going through their things.
Through their old stuff or their parents' old stuff or something.
They found a newsletter. They went, oh, this is good.
Funny.
Take a photo. Send that to our mate.
My buddies on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad they did, because now it's made it all the way over here.
That's great.
And it is brilliant. It's very funny. That makes me very happy.
We will link to it from the show notes and all our social medias. If anyone else recognizes it, let us know.
Yeah.
Or if anyone else has any other jokes from a fire newsletter.
Oh yeah. If there's any,
share them.
or even not fire. If there's anything that you can legitimately find the source from the original newsletter or whatnot.
I'm going to ding it.
Thank you.
I think that's great. You did what we call a ding dive around here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I did do a ding dive.
Thank you for doing a ding dive.
We're now coming up to the AOB ward of our podcast hospital metaphor.
For out business.
Yes. Out business. Any other business. Have you got any other business, Matt?
Oh my goodness, do I ever. We're going to New York.
Yes, we are.
Very exciting. Back in New York. We are doing a show again.
Yes, it is sold
It
out.
sold out a long time ago.
Yeah, sorry,
We
everyone.
promised we'll find a bigger venue for future times. We're in the US.
Yeah. If anyone is wondering, the money is going to charity.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to get pulled up by someone at the thing.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. No,
I
we're
listened
not.
to the
We're not.
podcast, but apparently
We're
no.
well within our
Not
visa
making any money.
restrictions. Yeah, 100%. But because we're in New York together,
Mm.
we thought we should solve more New York problems.
Yes.
And if people could try and align them with stuff we're already doing.
Yeah. I've already made it very explicit that I want to go back to Coney Island.
You really do. I didn't get to go last time.
You didn't get to go last time. And
Oh,
last time it was very quick.
Yeah.
When I went.
So I'm up for doing it again. Up for you doing it again. And I get to come along.
Yeah.
Because last time we happened to be recreating scenes from the Olsen twins film.
Oh, yes. New
And
York
that
Minute.
nicely doubled up to be able to solve a problem for the podcast at the same time.
Yes.
So if anyone
we were just doing that for fun.
anyway.
Yeah,
if anyone could align.
I can't believe we took a whole day in New York to do that.
I know. So we haven't got time this time. So here are the things we're doing where we can also solve a problem while we're there and make the whole thing tax deductible. Going to Coney Island.
Mhm.
Going to see a baseball game.
Yes.
Mets versus Dodgers.
Ah.
Yeah. So anything in both cases, we can do comprehensive hot dog research.
Can we take jammy Dodgers there? I got nothing. That's
can.
all I've got.
What else are we doing? Hanging out.
Hanging out. Yeah. Basically,
Yeah.
I want roller coaster / hot dog problems.
Yeah, basically. Go to the problem posting page at aproblemsquared.com.
Yes,
Do that.
please do that. I have some any other business as well. We've heard from Connor, who gave us the problem in episode 059. Have all the candy bars been
Yeah.
invented? And Connor said, thank you, Bec, for investigating my question about candy bars. I was fully satisfied.
Excellent.
Giving you a ding.
Fully
question.
satisfied.
Fully satisfied.
All caps ding
Yep.
with an exclamation mark, beginning and end.
Yes. Yeah. What's the upside down one?
It's a big ding. Is what
It's
we're trying to
the
say.
opposite factor.
Yes, it's the opposite of factorial.
Yeah, factorial. There we go. No questions asked. They also want to know, what are the upper and lower bounds of a candy bar? Can it
Oh my
include
goodness.
fish? Are there no constraints? School glue? There are indeed infinitely many candy bars. Wow.
I think if you're dinging a solution, you don't get to reopen the problem.
I mean, we vaguely.
We
My
touched
argument
on these
was you could
things.
put anything in it that's
That's a good
edible.
point, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
as long as you could still class it as a candy bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be enough that it's still classed
Go
as a candy bar.
and bar shaped.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. Here, Matt enjoyed the problem squares.
I did.
Yep.
They
They
were
also
delicious.
and wanted to know if Lauren got to try it, which she did.
She did.
Lauren was here, got to try one.
We all agreed they were dinglicious.
No one complained to me later that they got food
complaints. Nah.
poisoning.
Felt fine the next day.
So they said, congratulations, well done on your beckoning.
Is that like a combination of baking and beck?
Oh, becking. Sorry, I read it
Yeah.
as beckoning.
Yeah.
The beckoning. I thought
That's
it was
more
more like,
ominous.
I'm getting to like,
You're achieving
I'm
full
finally
beck
winning.
potential.
Yeah. Thanks, Connor. It's lovely. Lovely to hear that. Also, I should point out that people put solutions in the problem posing
Yes, they do.
page at
There's a drop-down
problemsquared.com.
menu so you can pick solution or problem.
Yes. So they do that. Now, we don't always read out
No.
everyone's problem
It'd
or
be a
solution.
very long podcast.
Yeah, there's like over 2,000 entries so far.
Yeah.
But we do read them
We
all.
read them. Oh, yeah.
We absolutely read them all. And I just want to say that sometimes you send us the loveliest things or little additions in your notes. We don't have time to read them all out, but they
We
are very
appreciate
nice. And we read them out together when we're
Yeah.
about to record. So we do appreciate that. Thank you very much, everyone who does that. You can give us 5 stars on
Oh, yes.
whatever podcasting app that you're
Yep.
listening to this
Whatever
on.
platform.
Spotify is really easy. You could literally do it right. You just
If you're
go
on
to the.
Spotify right now, boom, 5 stars.
We're still trying to beat No Such Thing as a Fish.
Oh, how are we doing? I haven't checked recently.
I haven't checked recently, but my episode of No Such Thing as a Fish hasn't come out yet.
You've recorded
so
it, but it's not out yet.
it's still not out yet. As of the time of this recording, might have come out by the next one.
I was talking to my wife, Lucy, about how you were doing No Such Thing as a Fish
Mm.
because one of our neighbors listens to it and
Ah.
will mention to us when they walk past if we've recently been mentioned in No Such Thing as a Fish.
Right.
And then we were chatting about it. And I said, I've never done No Such Thing as a Fish. Lucy's like, what? Are you sure? And I mentioned to a few people. Everyone assumes I've been on the podcast.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I feel like
I think it's another Mandela effect.
I could be.
Like in a different universe, you have been on it.
Because there's 2 options. I'm either getting all the credit of doing it with none of the effort
Mm.
in one universe, or I have done it and I've just totally
No idea.
forgotten. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've done their live shows, but I'm not in a recording.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway.
Now, like the hospitals in this country, we are severely underfunded. So,
Well done.
so if you want to do more than just give us 5 stars, we will take your money.
Oh, please, we will.
Anywhere from the equivalent of $1.
Yep.
You can sign up to our Patreon page.
Yeah.
Link is in the show notes.
Patreon.com/a problem squared.
Yeah. We've got the lowest tier we've got is $5 American dollars.
It was $5. 5 stars, $5.
And it's per month, not per episode.
Nah, per
So
month.
for that, you get
You
2
get 2.
episodes.
Well, you get
and
2 and a smidgen.
And a bonus. Yeah, that's right.
And
You get
bonus. Oh my
bonus
goodness.
show.
You get 3 1/4 episodes a month.
Yeah.
That's
So
good value for money.
It is good value for money. So, and sometimes we do things like randomly send out
Send out a
stuff.
Parker Square.
Yeah, or I think we sent out some cards once.
Yeah, we post stuff out. You get a Christmas card.
Yeah, you get a Christmas card.
Yeah,
Or you get if you'll get an emailed one, and if you go up to our wizard level Patreon,
then we
supporter,
actually post you a physical one.
you get and then you'll get things like merch and stuff as well.
Yeah, we appreciate you all.
Yeah, we do, but we'll only show it to the people who give us money.
Yeah.
But as I say, like hospitals, the quality gets better as the money goes up. So
look, anyone can listen for free.
Yeah.
But if you want private problem squared care.
Yeah, that's right.
You got to pay for it.
That's right. Oh no, we're the problem. And what also happens if you support us on Patreon, we will read out at 3 randomly chosen names of our supporters at the end of each episode. And this episode, those random supporters are
The Legend of Della.
That's a great name.
Yeah. And they've actually used a typeface to force it to be all caps.
Yeah. Rowan Sawney or Rohan Sawney.
Jammers Hyam or James Hyam.
Or Higgum.
Hyham.
It'd be a double G if it was Higgum.
Higham.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Patreon people. Oh yeah, I've been Bec Hill.
Just
if I was your doctor, you should leave. That's Matt Parker. Thank you, Matt. And thank you as always to our producer, Lauren Armstrong Carter. Bye.
Hey, Bec.
Oh my gosh.
We get to find out what Muppet we are.
Yeah, we are.
We've done them all. We got to enter them in. I think we've both got a version of this open in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go through and I'm going to fill in the song I picked, which was Under the Bridge.
So the first question was pick a song. I chose Pump Up the Jam by Technotronic.
Yeah, Cartoon Network for
Whoa.
show.
Hang on. Matt. No. We have to go through one at a time so people can do it as they're reading.
They're doing this at home fast?
Yeah, they can choose it with us.
Oh, okay. I'm up to what do you value in a friend? That's the ability to keep
not
up.
Patience. What are you wearing? We both said t-shirt for that. Pick a channel. We both went for Cartoon Network.
Yeah. We had a surprising amount of overlap.
Yeah. Pick a Jim Henson character.
Last Bert.
You went for Bert and I went for Jareth. What do you value in a friend? Now I'm up to
chill.
And I had puns.
Yep, that makes sense.
On a Saturday morning. I should have said brains, but I didn't.
No.
I was thinking more about what do I value in myself.
On
a Saturday morning, you can be found. We were both sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually isn't true. I've been getting up pretty early these days. Some of my answers are technically changing now. Pick a movie.
This is like the opposite of a snapshot in time. Each individual bit is a different snapshot in time.
Yeah.
But you can't change them now.
No. Die Hard. I think we both went Die Hard.
We both did Die Hard.
What would you want as a pet?
I had an ant farm. You went for chicken.
Oh, yes. Which game would you rather play?
Okay, you were charades. I'll Scrabble.
Pick a word.
Yeah, we all went meatballs.
Everyone went meatballs.
Of the 9 options available, we didn't just take meatball out of nowhere.
Yeah. Lauren, have you been doing it too? Okay.
Oh, really?
I have a feeling that you and I are the same person, the same character.
Okay. Because I got...
On the count of 3?
Yep.
1, 2, 3. Gonzo.
Oh, we're different.
Oh,
Am I pleased I got Scooter? Yeah.
Scooter,
Not
the
100% wrong.
the intern of the Muppets.
Yeah, but I think if they had to have a token like nerd, like in a
But they've got like the professor. And,
scientist.
Oh, that's true.
I think if they want like the classic doofusy
Like a geek.
nerd geek,
Yeah,
you
that
got
fits.
Gonzo.
Yeah, and
I have
Gonzo's
no further comments.
Gonzo's wearing a shirt that is not dissimilar to the one I'm wearing now.
Hang on, I'll keep holding that there.
Hang on.
Hold it, I'm going to get a photo. It's so eerily accurate. It's outrageous. Okay.